Have you ever wondered what it would be like to control entire armies? To build massive military bases and economic centers that would rival the world's mightiest empires? Strategy games offer us an opportunity to participate in war games on such a scale, but when was the last time you played a strategy game that wasn't an esoteric mess closer to an epic spreadsheet simulator rather than an exercise in tactical thinking? Have strategy games peaked? Hello, fellow travelers, and welcome to the Hard Light Network. The early 2000s saw an explosion in strategy games. Remakes and reboots of point-and-click army management games from the early 90s were blowing up. One of my favorite games was the Army Men RTS, a formative game on my list of nostalgia generators. It was advanced for its time, and the design is memorable even to this day. All of the staples are present: resource and unit management, base building, and huge maps to dominate. All of the flagship RTS games that would follow would emulate these core design concepts in one way or another. However, a trend I've noticed in more recent strategy games is a tendency towards smaller and less dynamic encounters, less units on screen on smaller maps. It seems that, by and large, strategy games have become more confined to the realm of mobile games for the foreseeable future. While I don't necessarily have anything against unit-based or tower defense games, they lack a certain scale and investment that larger engagements have. Having to take key strong points on larger maps to close the distance between you and your enemies, having the option to search for hidden caches of resources or units off the main path to give you an edge, no matter how small, capturing unique or neutral spaces for access to secret tech or mercenary units, balancing all that on a simple but effective economy, and dividing your attention and manpower across the map. A true strategy game tests more than your ability to grind upgrades or spam units. Like I said earlier, there is a clear trend towards smaller scale and faster paced engagements in recent strategy games, with a streamlined base economy system usually just credits earned by killing enemies and surviving waves that are spent on tiered upgrades or more units and structures. These experiences are usually shallow in terms of gameplay and mechanics. While that doesn't necessarily make these games bad, they aren't really tests of tactical acumen either, often boiling down to Skinnerbox slugfests. On the other extreme, there are the absolutely massive 4X games, usually set in space, an utterly barren setting with incredibly flashy combat interspersed between long bouts of managing grimoires of text, micromanaging every little detail of your galaxy-spanning space empire. These games have all the opposite problems of the smaller mobile-style games. These games are often painfully long, bogged down with extensive and complex mechanics, and maps that take an incredibly long time to navigate depending on the situation. These games are often made all the more complicated by numerous DLCs, add-on packs, and skins that often render multiplayer unplayable because your friends need the same DLC packs as you to play.
Uplink successful. Welcome back, Commander. Today's threat level is low. The state of the planet is deteriorating. Tiberium infestation has reached critical levels. Red zones have suffered the worst contamination and cannot support human life. Yellow zones are dangerously contaminated, but contain most of the world's population. Decades of war and civil unrest have left these regions in a state of social collapse. The Brotherhood of Nod operates virtually unchallenged in these zones. They take advantage of the chaos to recruit members and disguise their military infrastructure. Nod's leader is a charismatic figure we know only as Cain. Cain is determined to accelerate the spread of Tiberium, believing it is the catalyst for the next stage of human evolution. However, in recent years, the Brotherhood has been suspiciously quiet, with little terrorist activity. The remainder of the Earth's surface is unscarred by Tiberium outbreak. These blue zones are considered the last refuge and hope of the civilized world, and are under the protection of the Global Defense Initiative. You have been assigned command of the GDI forces stationed on the eastern seaboard of the United States. Good luck, Commander.
Command & Conquer was one of the go-to series for strategy enthusiasts, both casual and hardcore. The developers were able to pack a unique feel and playstyle while keeping the gameplay consistent between three major unit types across multiple factions. From humble beginnings with the red versus blue, Nod versus GDI style conflict, the CNC roster eventually expanded from this simple bipolar conflict to three major factions, each with their own sub-factions. The combat of Command & Conquer was exciting and fast-paced. Each game had a standalone campaign offering unique challenges in scripted fights, as well as randomized scenarios where you could test your prowess against the game's AI on different maps. These locations were small enough to keep players engaged with each other, but large enough to conceal resource crates and neutral tech structures, offering incentives to explore the maps in exchange for an edge in combat. In Command & Conquer 3, and later, Kane's Wrath, the ability to capture enemy structures and train their own forces for use against them added layers of complexity. Each unit and structure comes with the suite of upgrades and special abilities that can be researched and upgraded in the field. Armies can be comprised of any mixture of land vehicles, air support, and infantry, each equipped with an astounding array of conventional weapons, explosives, lasers, area of effect weapons, flamethrowers, sonic weapons, and more. The possible combination of maps, units, AI difficulty, factions, and tactics allows for endless replayability, depth that is almost entirely lacking in the grindware mobile games that quickly become monotonous after a single playthrough. A trend that would be broken with the fourth installment, Tiberian Twilight, a game that scrapped most of the conventions established by the previous games in exchange for mobile base carriers, changing the flow of combat drastically. The main installments of the series would end here, marking the close of a foundational chapter of the RTS genre's history.
Roger that, sir. We're on our way. Rifle squad ready. Let's go, boys. Move out.
Missile squad ready.
Fire.
Worker ready for liftoff.
Clear to engage.
Missile squad ready for combat.
Select target.
Missile squad ready for combat.
Worker ready for liftoff.
Objective complete. Establishing video uplink.
Excellent work, Commander.
Mission accomplished.
ETA to intercept in 4 minutes. That's your window.
Supreme Commander took the same core concepts from the Command & Conquer franchise in a different direction, greatly expanding the scale of the battles, placing a much greater emphasis on controlling areas of the map. The design compensated for these much larger battlegrounds by making units a little faster, foregoing infantry units entirely in favor of land, sea, and aerial vehicles exclusively. The player can automate transport routes, unit production, and queue up lists of tasks for engineers to complete. The transport crafts make it possible able to move large amounts of units across great distances, and takeoff and landing zones can be automated as well. The player is able to capture strong points and resource nodes by expanding their sphere of influence with forward operating bases, build turrets, walls, and energy shields to protect key resource points, or create resupply depots on the battlefront, construct radar posts to monitor enemy movements and plan strikes in advance, erect fields of silos to store resources for late-game engagements. The mechanic that truly sets Supreme Commander apart from other big games in the genre and its namesake is the Commander Unit, a towering, customizable mech housing your character, capable of building structures, combating enemy units, gathering resources, and researching new tech. The Commander is a powerhouse, with each faction having their own specialized build. The thing I enjoyed most about the Commander's mech is the feeling of participating a little more directly in the battle. Unfortunately, even this franchise saw an inevitable streamlining of its features in the sequel. With smaller maps and less variety in the structures, the game felt like a cheap imitation of its competitors, losing that grandeur the scale of those original maps brought to it in the first place. Age of Empires had to be involved in this conversation at one point. As one of the first strategy games I ever played, as well as one of the most robust franchises in the RTS genre, there aren't many titles that come close to recreating the feeling of executing a successful raid against your enemy's outpost. With each game in the series containing dozens of units, scenarios, wonders, and unlockables, you could run hundreds of battles and each of them play out differently. The core mechanic of these games sees you gathering enough resources to advance through each age, while other players attempt to put an end to your civilization's ambitions. The in-game economy is generally comprised of food, wood, stone, and gold, with each unit and structure requiring a different amount of each resource to produce. Players must account for farming and housing space when constructing their outpost, as each unit will also require a greater amount of housing space as you advance. Your energy and attention must be split between exploration, resource gathering, and defense. Allowing your workers to die not only puts a halt to your resource collection, but can prevent you from replacing and repairing your structures as well. The ability to garrison any nearby workers with the ring of a bell contributes to the immersive sense of medieval danger and excitement. Each faction comes with their own unique heroes, units, structures, and cosmetics, creating a wondrous panoply of colors, architecture, and languages. The heroes serve as explorers and heavy early game units capable of taking on the wildlife guarding caches of resources hidden throughout the map. Every hero has their own abilities and is effectively immortal. When their health is depleted, they will be downed until a friendly unit comes within a few paces to revive them. While impressive, each hero is only as good as the armies at his back, and Age of Empires offers a wide selection of foot soldiers, archers, cavalry, riflemen, naval vessels, siege weaponry, and explosive ordnance. Whether it's in constructing massive walled fortifications or marching troops through your opponent's streets, Age of Empires leaves a sense of accomplishment. But even after completing the campaigns and scenarios and besting all of your friends in the multiplayer, you can take to the map editing suite and create your own maps, complete with scripted cutscenes. The ability to design your own maps is something that is exceptionally rare in games, but is always a welcome addition, allowing you to create completely new experiences from scratch, unique to your own playstyle and creativity to share with other players. A degree of personalization and creative input that is conspicuously absent from many other games and titles in the industry.
The fight for Osaka Castle is over. Japan has no ruler but Tokugawa.
Strategy games will always occupy a special place in my memories, but lately it's been hard to find a game that reminds me of the same sense of tactical and strategic thinking that these games inspired in me. Maybe newer games just aren't as challenging, maybe they simply have a different emphasis than their predecessors, and that's fine. Game mechanics evolve naturally over time due to small tweaks and adaptations to the market. And some of my favorite games now have clear, real-time strategy influences, such as RimWorld or Kenshi. But I still miss the more focused approach the older titles took to unit-based combat and strategy. But what do you guys think? Have strategy games peaked? Have any recent titles stuck out to you as exceptional real-time strategy games? Do you think we will ever see a comeback of new titles that revive the genre? Be sure to let me know what you guys think in the comments, and we'll see you in the next one. Thank you guys for watching. If you liked the video, leave a like, and until next time, love you guys. Safe travels.